Hello, and welcome to the Frivolous and Frugal Knitting Podcast. We're two sisters who share our fondness for knitting, the things that we create, and our love for the knitting community. And we do it all with the twist of both the frivolous and the frugal. I am Frivolous Dawn, and I am fourth of 8 in our family's birth order.
Hi, and I am Frugal Miss Penny. It's a pleasure to meet you, Frivolous Dawn. And I am number 1 in the birth order. We have a heartfelt welcome to our returning viewers. We're so thankful that you've made time to watch our episode, with all of us having very limited time these days. So thanks for joining us. And as always, we hope you glean a nugget or two from today's episode. And for those of you who are first-time viewers, we're so glad you're here. Welcome. We're hoping that just like our returners, you glean a nugget or two today from our fiber adventures. So without further ado, grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, and a hearty sense of humor, because we're getting ready to start episode 30. Take it away, Dawn.
What makes me think I could do cables and a podcast at the same time?
Hey, I am doing that too.
I see some thinking in my future. Well, we should probably start with what we're both wearing. This was kind of weird that we both showed up with this morning. So we kind of both are wearing the This Way Then That shawl by Joanne Kiley. Joanne is the owner of Magpie's Cottage. Yeah, Penny, that is striking. So this was a modular knit. You'll see that you started with the triangle in the middle. So mine being the pink and Penny's being the turquoise, and that would be your solid. And then you go modularly out from that way using this self-striping sock yarn. And then the rest of it, you just pick up edges and go. And I think we both probably test knit this, didn't we?
I think we did. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and so it was a good lesson for me in modular knitting because that was new to me. And when I was looking at it this morning, you could have all kinds of fun with this. You could add more solid if you wanted to. You could add different self-striping yarn. But I think all the details are in our project pages on Ravelry. I think I did mine on a smaller needle than yours. I did a 5.
And I think I did too, actually.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool.
I think I did.
It is
a test knit. I felt like I should do that so that she would have some idea on the dimensions.
Note to self, I'm probably not the best test knitter if I have to follow the pattern.
Not note to self, note to designers. Yeah. Don't ask her.
I'll smile. No, thank you. No, I actually enjoyed it, and I kind of forgot about it when I saw it this morning. I thought, how nice. And so it is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. Mm-hmm. So This Way Then That.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I would just like to introduce, once again, you've seen this several times, but perhaps one of my favorite shawls. Opal is sporting Pebble Beach by Johi Locatelli, and it was in an exclusive colorway, Malabrigo Sock, for Knit Stars during the very first season. I was just telling Dawn before we started recording, I would knit this again. As large as it is, and I'll bet it's every bit of 80 or more inches in span, it felt like it flew off the needles. So I don't know if it was a combination of the colors. These are my favorite colors. The yarn was very delightful to work with, but definitely worth another knit, I think, sometime in the future if I can't find anything else to knit. Yeah. What's Ruby sporting?
I can't believe I've never done that shawl.
I think you would like it, Dawn. It's a huge crescent.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd love it.
Crescent.
Yeah. What Ruby is wearing is called Transient, and it was a knit along with Michelle Hunter of KnitPurlHunter. The yarn is HiKoo skacel in the Concentric colorway. It was 1 skein of yarn. And it is, and I was going to look up, I don't know the technical name. I don't think this yarn was plied. So it's 4 strands, but it wasn't twisted. And it started off with, you can hardly see it. It starts off with ivory.
Okay.
So all 4 strands were ivory. And then every little bit, one of those strands would change to the next color. and then the next color. So I just gradually faded into this. It is an asymmetrical triangle, which I find very difficult to wear, but I like the colors. So it went from an ivory to a taupe to a red to a black. So
Dawn, that's very pretty.
yeah, and I've got to believe that was like 2018 that knit along was.
I think it
So,
was. I think you're right. Or thereabouts.
and I think Concentric as a yarn is still available. So, yeah.
Good to know. You know, you mentioned still available. Last night, after knitting with the aunties, I went looking for some fiber. I really like that Fiber Company's Erin Moore that I'm knitting just that Kevin Costner sweater out of. I did not know they're discontinuing Erin Moore. That's a Donegal tweed made in Ireland. It's discontinued. You can't buy it anymore. The only place I could find it was on the Fiber Company's website.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's a bummer.
And it is a bummer for me because I've enjoyed knitting with it, especially for like a jacket, sweater jacket. So
Sure.
that's very sad. I will just mention that Mo is sporting today the Kex Hat by Stephen West. That hat actually was knit in Plymouth Encore in Mary Maxim scrapyard. I bought Mary Maxim kits for Grandma Ann while she was living with us, and those were my leftovers. And I have to tell you, I would knit that hat again as well. It, however, earns $5 signs for the cost of the pattern for me. Yeah. But it was not an inexpensive hat pattern.
Wow. Why do I think is it in one of his books or not? I can't remember.
You know what? I got it when, okay. 1 year, Dawn and I bid on Stephen West's Castaways, and he packaged up his leftover yarn and needles and patterns, packed them up, and you just bid on them. And he had like an online garage sale, and I got that pattern in the garage sale. I wouldn't have probably paid for it. Well, maybe I would. I like the hat a lot, but that's where I got it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, very good. So do you have anything off your needles today?
I do. I am pleased as punch to say that the eyelet striped jacket is finally finished. So if the viewers will remember in episode 28, I humbly confessed that I ran out of yarn and had to modify. So I took some yarn, which if you look in the skein, it has a light blue color. But this is what I learned this week, Dawn, when it comes to color theory. The hue of a color will change based on the yarn around it.
Wow.
And as you can see, this really looks more like a light green. So what I did was I shaped the sleeves a little bit more. I frogged both of them, shaped them, and then used this contrasting color, not only for the sleeves, but for the band. And during the knitting with the aunties, the ladies decided that these light pink buttons would be just perfect. So this will be finished today. Well, I got to block it first, then I'll put my buttons on. And I'm ready to cast on my next six sweet sweaters. I have the yarn over by my recliner where I knit, and hope to cast that on this evening.
Wow, I'll be sad to see that sweater go.
It has to be the longest lingering project I've ever done.
I love projects like that because it's like they eventually have to end. Or frog, yeah, but so that'll be a nice sweater to give.
Oh, it's going to get given, that's for sure. I want no remnants.
Amen to that.
So do you have anything off your needles? Oh, Dawn, you finished it.
Yeah. This is the moonwake cowl. I think it's just called moonwake, but it's a cowl, Andrea Mowry. I did it with my friend Miss Kathy here in Green Bay. The yarn is Julie Asselin's DK. I think it's the base is called Melange. And the 4 colorways I cannot pronounce because they're in French, but they are on my project page on Ravelry. I had less than, I think, 5 grams in all the colors, and almost all of them had the exact same amount left. So it was perfect for this pattern. So I like it. Oh, you know what? The original pattern has a Mobius twist, and I decided not to do the Mobius twist. And
Oh,
I think I would be a little hard pressed to find where I kitchenered. How's that?
what?
And that's
Look
where,
at you.
yeah. Of course, I'll put it up on the screen and it'll be obvious. I like it.
I do too.
And here's where I should learn a lesson.
What was that?
Get color work right back on your needles.
Okay.
Because if you don't, this took me a while to get back into the groove again. But it's a great, it was a great knit. It'd be a great to keep, great gift, whatever. So, yep. And I'm not sure what I called the pattern as far as Frugal. It is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. I bet I called it a 3. And then it is Julie Asselin yarn. So she's an independent dyer from Canada. I'm going to say that probably went 4.
Oh, okay. But I have to tell you, those color combinations are beautiful.
Yeah, I like them. And they're showing true to color right now on the screen. So yeah, so that is one thing off my needles. Woo woo.
Woohoo! So was there anything besides the importance of keeping some color work on your needles if you are just learning it that you learned from that cowl?
Well, I did the entire thing holding yarn in both hands.
Oh, you did.
And that was a good lesson for me, especially in the beginning when I had to frog it back so many times because I wasn't happy with the tension coming off my left hand. So, and I think maybe when you're first learning that, DK may have been a little bit easier to do than fingering. And the fact that this yarn is like butter going through your hands only helps. Yeah, and it was my first Andrea Mowry pattern, and it was a very well written pattern. So, yeah, I still with it. I don't know if Kathy has something else in mind, but I'm sure I will find out.
Oh, ho, ho. And if not, I believe one of our viewers, Miss Ann Zeistis on Ravelry, has once again dangled a carrot before my eyes. The two of us did that knit along camaraderie. And she has another pattern, which is color work.
Uh-oh.
Color work pattern, I believe. Isn't it?
I don't know.
Okay, I think it is. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about it. Might be
Yeah.
a good cast on for our virtual knit nights.
Yeah, let's do it.
As you recommended.
Yeah.
I have one other item off my needles, and this is definitely a $1 sign for both fiber and pattern. And this is the doggy hat.
I love it. Oh.
And this is a dog bone. Now, the only variation I made was the instructions said just use a twisted yarn for this, and I thought that's just a little bit too loosey-goosey for me, so I went ahead and did a 3-stitch I-cord.
Perfect.
Just because that way if it goes through the washer it's not going to break. So this is I believe number 27 or number 28 on the 45 hats 45 designers campaign that I'm on. So yeah, I'm pleased to have that off, and I just cast on another, oh, we're not there yet, but when I get there, I'll tell you about the other hat I'm working on. Go ahead. What else is on your needles?
Well, I have one more thing off.
Or off your needles, okay.
And it is still a little damp.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is the 3-color cashmere shawl by Johi Locatelli. I am doing it as part of her knit along. Gosh, I like it. I've seen some where there was a huge punch of color where I have the gray, and that's my style, of course, the big punch of color, but I think I'm okay with this too.
I think that's a very pretty neutral cowl.
Yeah. Oh, and it smells good. Ooh, okay.
The
The yarn is Brooklyn Tweed Peary, which is their fingering weight. The colorways are on my project page. I think the only change I made was a pattern called for a US 2.5, and I didn't have one, so I used a US 3, and I had, of both the white and the black, 18 inches of yarn left.
Yarn
That is
chin, that is great.
not that I was on a site ready to push the buy now button
Oh no, I
to
can't
get
imagine
more.
you doing that.
There was a little bit of gray left, but you know, it was interesting when I blocked it, the water was solid this gray. I mean, the color catcher was gray, the water was gray, didn't affect anything. So those colors were all saturated then. So
Wow,
yeah,
Dawn, that is just beautiful.
yeah. And then I like this. Of course, we like the 3-color cashmere shawl too. So I think I probably gave it 4 for the frugalometer for the yarn because it's Brooklyn tweed, and her patterns are reasonable. So I don't know if I gave it like a 2 or 3. So,
Very
and I
nice.
better keep it flat since it's not quite dry yet. So
Oh, that's a good idea. So you didn't dry it on your pool noodle?
I did.
Oh, you did.
But you know, we're just getting cool enough here. The furnace just went on yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So wool just takes a little bit longer to dry. So yeah, and I woke up to our first frost
You
this
got a
morning.
boss
Yeah.
too.
So
Yay.
yeah, fall is here.
So I see you working on something. What are you working on?
Oh, for the 14th time, this is my Twistmas hat. I've tried it with multiple yarns, and let me get my styrofoam head because it might be a little bit easier to show. So this is a free pattern by Espas Tricot. They also have a cute podcast if you want to watch it. The owners, they're up in Montreal. And it's a very simple pattern. And I don't know if you can see the pattern coming up the hat now.
We couldn't see that in the previous
No, you couldn't
7
see it at all.
iterations. Yeah.
So this yarn is delightful too. It's one twisted tree in the prime base. The colorway is the Frozen Forest of Dean, which I think is a Harry Potter location.
Mhm.
And boy, that color's showing true too. Twisted rib, simple pattern, but it took me 3 hats to figure out right yarn, right pattern.
Ooh,
Oh, and you can probably see I'm carrying a strand of mohair with it as well.
of course you are.
And I love this little thing off the end. I think this could become a new trend.
I think so. The rat tail of hats.
Yeah.
You don't need to grow your own rat trail or rat tail. I'll just knit one in for you.
And this is my September UFO to finish. So I've got only a couple weeks, so I better get going. So yeah, what's on
Ooh.
your needles? What are you working on?
Well, for our viewers who were not able to join us last week for our virtual knit night, I just have to tell you, every time we walk away from that, Dawn, my cup is full, my heart is full, and I am just so thankful that technology allows us to get together with others in the knitting community.
Absolutely.
And Miss Brittany, also B-Wing on Ravelry, gave us a suggestion to do a hat cast on during our knit night, and so several of us did. This is the Mia hat. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous hat. It's a pattern by Erin Donahue, and I frogged all of mine that I knit that night. I woke up yesterday morning and I had knit it in a tweed. Couldn't see that pretty cable. And there is only this one small portion of the cable. I could not see it. And after seeing Miss Brittany's light lavender, I decided I needed to change the fiber. So I frogged it. I'm going to use that fiber for something else. And I cast this on in Plymouth Galloway. Again, $1 on the frugalometer. And $1 on the frugalometer for the hat pattern. It is a pay-for pattern on Ravelry. So that's what I'm working on right now. Probably getting fairly close to starting my decreases. What about you?
Well, I'm doing the hat too. So a good example on the tweed issue. You don't see that cable as well, do you?
No, I don't think you do, sis.
Yeah.
Now, maybe once it gets on the head, you might.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, and this is Cascade di Oloro or something. It's a discontinued base for Cascade, and it's a combination of wool and alpaca and a little bit of nylon, I think. So Miss Joyce in our Magpies Zoom is doing it, and she's doing a gray similar to yours, Penny, and I have to totally agree that those light colored solids make that cable pop. Now, Laurel's doing a light yellow tweed. You see it better.
You do.
You do.
Okay.
And so maybe it's that combination.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me decline that.
You might have been a winner of $1 million and you just declined it.
I apologize. When you have a large family, you never know when they're going to call.
Oh, do you need to take the call?
No.
Okay.
It's
right.
fine.
Cool. So yeah, and then the only thing left on my needles, and hopefully this is the last week, is my Festival of Stitches.
Woo! Dawn.
Yep, paid for pattern by Lisa Hannes. So you start off again with that big triangle in the middle, and then you work your way left and right. So going this way, you'll see that the squares in this mosaic pattern are white, and then it's followed by a white cabled section, and then a black, what they call raindrop section. And you can't really see the raindrops as well on the black. Now the opposite side inverses those colors. So black, and then the black cables. That was a lesson in torture. Black cables. See, you can't even see them. Why do I do that? Okay, anyway, this raindrop section, obviously you see a lot better. I'm just about done. I'm playing yarn chicken. So if I break out into a sweat during this podcast, you know why? Or I see I'm already flush. This must be a little warm. And then I end ribbing on both ends with the red yarn, and you literally weigh your yarn. Half of it goes to one end, half of it goes to another. I will be delighted to wear this shawl.
Oh, I bet you will. And I anticipate oodles of comments on that.
Wow, it is long, isn't it? I think it goes to 96 at the end. So yeah, so very happy with that. It's been a nice knit that is in Ba yarn in the La Jolla base. And the exact colorways again are on my project page. So it's my first time to knit one of her patterns, and I just have to believe I'm going to knit more because I like the way she writes her patterns. And she likes these long rectangles too, so I'm kind of a sucker for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of wraps up that portion of today's episode. So we need to move on to the next segment. What are you learning, Dawn?
Well, it's profound this week, so hold on.
It's always profound.
The more you know, the more you know. And this is the time of the year where I can get a little wound up about all of the knit-alongs going on. And so, you know, me with my FOMO, fear of missing out, I want to do them all. But then I realized that sometimes with a knit-along, and definitely with a mystery knit-along, you don't know what you're getting into. And so there's significant yarn purchases possible with some of them. So I did take that Zoom class with Stephen West last weekend, and it's about his new mystery knit-along that requires 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. But after listening to him and having him explain the colors, he gave lots of visual options on, do you want to go lights or darks or neutrals? After he explained that, I felt so much more comfortable with what I liked, what I want to look at in my stash. I still have no idea what the shawl is going to be other than its slip stitches. And I love high contrast, and you can definitely get that with slip stitches, you know, hence this kind of colorway. So I realized the more I get educated, the more I know about the pattern, the more I know about my time commitment, I'm much more comfortable making a decision that works for me. And I'm going to take the risk, I think, and not know what that pattern, that shawl shape is going to be. But I think he gave me enough information to be confident. So
Woo,
And that doesn't start till October, so I will wait and tell you yarn choices then in case I change my mind once or 4 times.
As we would totally anticipate and understand. Because who knows, there might be 3 more knit-alongs come along the way and you decide to jump a different direction.
And you know, the other thing that's been happening in my email box this week is all the major dyers are coming out with kits for that mystery knit-along. So again, you're going to see more and more choices, which for me help me solidify the colors I like, the yarn fiber I like, and that combination. So that was interesting to do that Zoom session. And it was kind of weird where I felt so much better after it was over about the yarns. And so I've been doing some looking at my stash. I've been counseling with Miss Penny to see what either she has or what I have. And I think it will, yeah, I've not quite a month to make that decision and maybe to get a few things off my needles so that I can focus on that. I highly doubt I'll be able to keep up with the weekly because that was interesting. Somebody asked him how much time should you plan if you wanted to do it, you know, keep up with each clue. And just kind of real nonchalant said, well, I don't know, most of you probably knit 3 hours a night anyway, so that should be fine. And then he says, if you knit slower, it'll take longer. Now, there was no...
The more you know, the more you know.
That's right. And there was no tinking time built into that, so I'm going to have to.
That needs to be included, okay?
I would think so.
Yes, I would think that as well.
Yeah. Is there a high tink factor?
Yes. Hey, maybe suggest it to him. Dear Stephen, this is Frivolous Dawn. We would like you to include on your patterns a tinkometer. And hey, I'm sure he'd go with it.
That's funny.
Maybe after he sees the dollar signs that you assign to it on the frugalometer, but he might.
So that mystery knit along is available for pre-purchase for the pattern right now.
Okay.
No, we'll stay that. I think he always just does one price. I don't think they ever change. So at least in my recollection, they don't. So what did you learn this week?
Well, as I mentioned in the eyelet stripe jacket, color changes based on the colors around it. And so fiber colors can appear, and of course the lighting as well. We know that from painting rooms in our houses. We can be pretty sure that we picked the shade we want, and then the afternoon sun hits it and we go, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So going back to color theory, I learned that with the trim. I would not have picked that yarn had I not brought it up to the fabric and saw the color difference. So that's what I'm learning, to take time and make those decisions thoughtfully and intentionally so that I'm pleased with the garment. And if not, we can always frog it, but
sure.
Yeah, that's what I learned this week.
Very good. So what's happening at Frivolous and Frugal?
Oh, you know what we learned last night at Knitting with the Annies? That we had a random drawing for those of you who commented in our last episode thread on YouTube. And I am saying this honestly, there was one comment that I really liked. And I'll tell you why when I tell you who won. But we don't give each other hints or anything. We literally are random. We don't pick and choose. So with a random number generator, the winner for this week's sweater bag by Miss Sandy, because we know that that was what the thread was, is Anissa M. Congratulations, Miss Anissa, because I asked her in the thread if I could borrow her expression. It is the beautiful, most ideal weather for her woolly items. I love that little phrase, woolly items. And so I told her I was going to start using it. So Miss Anissa, I'll tell you what you need to do, darling. You need to get in touch with Dawn, somehow message her. Our emails are always at the bottom in the notes, and we will get that bag in the mail to you sometime between now and 2025.
There may be more truth to that than
And if we have to stretch it to 2026, those who know us well would not find that the least bit surprising nor appalling. And also last night during Knitting with the Aunties, we chose a winner from our Finish Fixer Frogget KAL from our Ravelry thread. And this week's winner is, and this is her Ravelry name, Knit, Read, Play. So Miss Beth from California, you are this week's winner. If you would, darling, please message me on Ravelry and I will get that in the mail to you. So just a little gift from us thanking you for your support and your participation in the Frivolous and Frugal podcast.
Very good. And for those who were able to join us, or really for anybody, Penny and Nikki wrote down feverishly all the different designers, yarns, and patterns that we talked about during our virtual knit night. And that is listed on our discussion board in Ravelry as well. And I look at that list and it's amazing what we talk about in 2 hours. And
well, I think, Dawn, because those 2 hours are 100% devoted to knitting, I think that's why we just saturate one another with all that information. And if I accidentally forgot something you missed, don't hesitate to let me know and I will be sure to add it for you.
Sure. And maybe next time I'll help with the writing of everything down. I just sat there and knit.
Yes, you just look beautiful doing it, Dawn. Do what you do well, you know, that's definitely you. We also decided that our next giveaway would come in episode 32 for the Finish Fixer Frogget KAL. So you have plenty of time to continue to post the pictures of your beautiful, and I mean that, beautiful finished items. Whew, we get sidetracked by those frequently, don't we, Dawn?
Yep. And it's amazing to me just to see the pictures. I often find myself going to look at the pattern or I look up a new yarn. And then too, just the different designers that I'd not heard of before. So this is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really loving it. And again, if all of us have little projects that have been lingering, what a nice thing to get them off your needles, whether you knit them off or frog them off. It's just kind of nice to see that turnover. So
it absolutely is. So if you are starting to get an itch for joining us for that virtual knit night, please mark on your calendars. The next time is going to be October, I think it's October 10th, isn't it? It is October 10th. It's a Saturday evening from 7 to 9 Central Time. The notes for the Zoom sign-in will be in a thread on Ravelry, and we do our very best to shut down at the time we say we do. So if you need to make plans, please do so.
Oh yeah, just delightful, delightful people from all over the country. We had several join us from Canada. Yeah, I was beyond full after that. So.
Me too. Well, speaking of full, our sister Nikki is full of wisdom. And our last segment of every show is What Would Nikki Say? So listen to this. It's really appropriate. Never shy away from learning something new, whether it's a new stitch or a minor change in your grip. And for those of you who don't know, our dear sister, Faithful Nikki, she is a golfer. So even a small change in the grip on her golf clubs. With practice, you will succeed. And to quote Dawn,
Wow.
she's getting ready to quote you. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you, sis, for adding that tidbit to our episode today.
Yeah, that was very wise. Wow.
Yes, it was. It was.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I bet our time is done.
It is.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. So we would just like to thank you for joining us. All of our contact and social media presence or absence is located in the show notes. So please feel free to jump in the threads and join us. And until we join you again for episode 31, we hope that your week will be a sweet twist of the Frivolous and Frugal. Have a great week, and we'll see you for episode 31. Bye-bye.
Bye.